All right, the 2001 season, obviously, what a memorable year that was. Unfortunately for you, it didn't end up in a World Series appearance, but what a historical regular season you guys had. Did you know going into spring training it was going to be over, whatever it was, 110, 115 victories?
Oh, I don't think you can ever. I've been very fortunate in my career to be on some really great teams, the 94, 95 Reds and the 99 Braves, and obviously the 2001 through 2003, actually, Seattle was a great team. No, I remember a funny story in spring training that year. Lou Piniella, as everybody knows, is a character. After all these years, he's still one of my favorite all-time guys. But we weren't playing very good in spring training. And he had this big team meeting, and he started yelling at everybody. And he said, you can't just flip a switch when the season starts. Well, we knew what we had. We knew we had a veteran team with a lot of guys with a lot of experience. And spring training is basically, for the older guys, it's getting your body in shape and getting ready for when the bell rings. And I remember myself and John Olerud were kind of sitting in the back of the room and kind of looking at each other smiling. We went into April, we won 20 games in April, and then we won 20 games in May. And then I remember Johnny and myself having that conversation and said, I guess you can flip a switch. But I don't think anybody could really foresee that happening. I mean, we had a great team, but to win 116 games, I mean, there's a reason it's never happened. And it just so happened that a lot of really good players on that team had career years. And, a lot of guys that weren't really mentioned because they didn't have the huge numbers, but were huge. A huge part of that team was, Dan Wilson, the catcher.
Right.
David Bell, who played third base. Mark McElmore, who played all over the place. Stan Javier, who played the outfield for us. Those were key guys that people don't talk about that often. But it took that. It was a year I'll never forget. And, it made me believe in chemistry on the baseball field. For years I thought the best players win. If you have the talent, you win. But throughout my career, I realized that chemistry is important, and that team was just a special team. It was too bad we couldn't finish the deal. But looking back, we can always say we were the best team ever in the regular season. we just pretty sad that we didn't finish it out and get a World Series.
Now, you have achieved, you did achieve a bunch of stuff, All-Star, Gold Gloves, 4 Gold Gloves, Silver Slugger as well, making the postseason. What's your most memorable or the achievement you're most proud of?
I think it's got to be that 2001 team. And not to make any, you never want to make an excuse for anything. But, we think back, and we had a reunion about a year ago for that team, and the conversation was, how did we not, how special that year was. How did we not finish that? And it's kind of, we try to come up with scenarios, and it's like, we don't know. But the only thing I can think of is the press that year. Once we had won all the games and we were at mid-season, they started to pay attention because we were on a record pace. So it seemed like for the last month and a half of the season, it wasn't normal in the clubhouse before and after the game. It seemed like the nationwide press was there, and there were an extra 20 or 30 reporters that were there, almost like a postseason situation. When you go to a postseason or a World Series, it's tough to maneuver your way through. There's so many reporters, and it seemed like, on a Monday night playing the Kansas City Royals, there were 50 reporters in our locker asking us the same question over and over. Are you guys going to break the record? Do you think you can do it? And our answer, we don't know. We're still 6 weeks away from that. And I think when we finally did break it, it was almost like we all kind of looked at each other and said, wow, it's finally over. We did it. Not thinking, wait a minute, we still got a postseason to go, and then obviously 9/11 hit, and that was, that was a tragedy for everybody. And we took some time off, and we went and we played the Cleveland Indians that year in the first round. Didn't play that great, but won the series. And then we went to New York, and actually we didn't play well, and New York didn't really play well. New York just played a little bit better than us, and I guess it was a year that just wasn't meant to be, but, you'll never be able to take away the 116 games, and what a special group of guys it was.
Chatting with Bret Boone of the formerly of the Seattle Mariners, most notably. Bret, as we see a lot of guys now end their career from the quote-unquote steroid era, and you see Barry Bonds and McGuire and Sosa and all these guys become eligible for the Hall of Fame. How should we look at some of these guys?
I think, and I'm not condoning any of that, but I think you've got to judge era by the era. And these are the greatest players of the era. So if I'm voting, how can you not keep those kind of numbers out of the game? It's everybody else didn't have those numbers, but Sammy Sosa did. And for me, just my opinion, I think you have to judge every era on the era, and whoever the greatest players were of that era go to the Hall of Fame. That's just my opinion. But, I don't have a vote, and really I don't spend that much time thinking about it.
Well, he is Bret Boone, and we appreciate you chatting with us this evening. Are you going to get on Twitter eventually, or what? You're on Facebook. You got to get on Twitter.
I don't think I'm going to get on Twitter. That's a little too. That's for my brother Aaron. He's the TV star that's on ESPN, so he's got to do that Twitter stuff. But I think I'll just keep to what I do and chasing these 4 kids around. But eventually, I do want to get back in the game. Soon, and I just hope an organization will give me that opportunity, because I'd love to, I think I got a lot to give to the game, and whether it be working with young players or giving my opinion on current players, hopefully somebody will give me that opportunity, and, I'd look forward to that.
Is there a 4th generation Boone coming from you or your brother?
Well, my brother's got 1 son, and I've got 3. So I've got a 13-year-old that's pretty good. And I've got twin boys that are 8, so we don't know too much about them yet. One of them loves baseball, and the other one thinks he's a pirate. So we don't know what's going to happen there. But the 13-year-old is, he's definitely got the genes and the instincts for it. But as we know, being a Major League Baseball player, there's only 600 or so positions. So he loves the game, and I'm going to support him. But I know what it's like, and being a Major League Baseball player it's an honor, but it's a tough thing to reach, but we'll see.
Bret, thank you so much for taking some time tonight. Really appreciate it.
You got it. My pleasure, and I'm glad we could finally hook up.
All right. There you go. Thanks a lot. That's Bret Boone, former Major League Baseball player, former multiple-time All-Star. Appreciate his time tonight. It is Game Points here on TSN 990 Radio. On the other side of the break, we're going to talk about that heroic effort by the Canadian women's soccer team and the recent fallout that's now happening with them ahead of their bronze medal game. We'll talk about that.